You've been told that confidence is the key to success, that if you just believe in yourself a little more, you'd finally feel worthy. But what if I told you that confidence isn't the goal? It's the byproduct. And what actually creates unshakable self-worth isn't merely believing in yourself. It's mastering the art of thinking. The highest paid, most influential individuals don't walk into rooms with confidence. They walk in armed with superior thoughts. And those thoughts, they weren't innate. They were cultivated. Over 2,500 years ago, a woman named Aspasia of Miletus mentored some of the greatest thinkers of her time, including the greatest philosopher himself, Socrates. She wasn't just confident, she was formidable. And the method she employed, it was so transformative that history attempted to erase her name entirely. So if you've ever wondered why, despite your achievements, there's a voice inside asking, am I good enough? Then I have created the right episode for you. Because today I'm unveiling the very method that made Aspasia of Miletus unstoppable.
I'm Dr. Charlie Hornes, ex-highly anxious people pleaser turned master certified professional life coach. Learning to manage my brain was so life-changing for me that I got certified so that I could teach these incredible evidence-based practices to you. Are you ready for massive change? Let's go.
Hey friend, welcome to the Art of Managing Your Brain. I'm Dr. Charlie Hornes. If you're weary of questioning your worth, if you're exhausted from the mental gymnastics of trying to prove yourself in spaces that overlook you, then I have a method that you need to learn. Previously, we exposed why women often diminish their presence around money. We delved into hesitations, why financial confidence feels precarious, and how we've been conditioned to be grateful for less. Today, we're venturing even deeper. The core issue isn't solely the external world. It's the internal narrative that prompts hesitation, second-guessing, and waiting around for approval. Here's the reality. Without rewriting that internal script, no amount of external success will ever suffice. If you're ready to cease waiting, you're ready to think like someone who occupies space, who takes up the space they deserve and claims their full worth unapologetically, then I have a framework that you need to learn. So we are going to get into that. But before we get started, unlearning millennia of conditioning isn't a solitary endeavor. Therapy is among the best tools to help discern what's true from what's taught. If you're prepared to untangle thoughts that aren't genuinely yours, if you're seeking authentic support while unlearning the patterns that encourage shrinking rather than taking up the space you deserve, then I want to introduce you to a mental health service that I truly believe in. And they are going to be sponsoring some of our episodes this spring. So I want to invite you to try BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. When you use my affiliate link, BetterHelp offers you 10% off your first month. Just go to BetterHelp, that's HELP.com/art of, ARTOF. That's BetterHelp.com/art of for online therapy that meets you where you are. Now, let's get back to the episode. Let's begin with the overarching question. Why is asserting your worth so challenging? Why do we hesitate to demand what we deserve, even when we logically recognize our merits? Because the moment we do, societal structures push back. They don't just resist, they attempt to redefine us. History isn't merely populated with powerful women. It's replete with women who wielded power, only to be subsequently erased. Not due to a lack of brilliance, but because they were exceedingly brilliant, too influential, too impactful, too disruptive to systems that were not designed for for them. One of the earliest documented instances, one of my favorite women of history, Aspasia of Miletus. Aspasia was a formidable figure, like I said. She was not merely the partner of Pericles, Athens' most prominent political leader at the time, but she was also a philosopher, an educator, and an intellectual force. She curated an intellectual salon, a nexus where the era's most powerful thinkers convened. She imparted knowledge in rhetoric, philosophy, and persuasion to individuals who would go on to shape Western democracy itself. Yet she was never officially recognized as a philosopher or credited as a teacher. Instead, she was branded a courtesan, a seductress, a woman who allegedly slept her way into influence. Sound familiar? This is a reoccurring pattern as old as the original serpentine temptress herself, Eve. When men assert themselves, it's labeled leadership. When women do the same, it's met with skepticism. And if skepticism doesn't suffice, history endeavors to get rid of them altogether. Here's the untold truth. The very method that led to Aspasia's erasure is the one she utilized to mold minds that constructed democracy, that built what is the form of government here in the United States. Today, I'm going to share Aspasia's method with you. You might be thinking, but I'm not a 5th century philosopher. What does this have to do with me? I'm going to check out. No, don't. Listen, I get it. But you are a woman navigating a system that operates similarly. This pattern isn't confined to history. It's unfolding around you right now. Exactly the same. Consider these scenarios. Do they resonate? You voice an idea at a meeting. It's overlooked. Minutes later, a male colleague repeats it, and it's hailed as brilliant. You apply for a position you're fully qualified for. They choose a different direction, and a less competent colleague secures the position. You negotiate your salary. Instead of straightforward response, you're made to feel difficult or ungrateful for merely asking. These aren't coincidences. They're part of a script. If unrecognized, you might realize the pattern. Perhaps you should wait longer, work harder, be less demanding. You know, the career strategy that always works wonders for women. You see, that's the trap. And today I'm handing you the exact method to dismantle it. The Aspasian method, rewriting the thought that's stealing your worth. All right, I want to talk about Aspasia for just a little bit. She was one of the most influential minds of her time, yet she was nearly erased from history. Aspasia wasn't just some side character in ancient Athens. She wasn't just the companion of Pericles. She had a child with him. She wasn't just a courtesan, as her enemies would love to believe. She was the philosopher, the rhetorician, the teacher, a statesman, and possibly the architect of the very method Socrates became famous for. You see, Socrates, he wrote nothing down himself. Everything that we know about the man is written by his student, Plato. Yet he has entire philosophies attributed to him, unquestioned. But Aspasia, men who actually documented her existence from Plato to Xenophon, still get dismissed with a wave of the hand as if she were some kind of ghostly myth, some make-believe character. Because to acknowledge her fully would mean acknowledging how deeply a woman shaped Western philosophy. Think about that. Socrates has 0 written records of his teachings. Plato documented everything we know about him, yet no one doubts his existence or the fact that he was a seeming great teacher. Aspasia, on the other hand, is mentioned by multiple ancient historians. But because she was a woman, most likely, modern scholars still ask, was she real? Side note, yeah, she was real. Men like Cratinus, Aristophanes, Eupolis tried to reduce her to a punch line. Cratinus called her a dog-eyed concubine in his play Chirones. Aristophanes blamed her for the entire Peloponnesian War. It was like a 25-year bloody battle, as if she were some Athenian Helen of Troy who caused a decades-long conflict just by breathing. And Helen of Troy wasn't even real. Aspasia was a person. Because when a woman wields power, the most effective way to destroy her is to turn her into a joke. Sound familiar? Today, women face the same systemic rewriting of their accomplishments. And not only that, with all of this passive aggressive stuff that's happening, this covert sexism and all of that, they're rewriting your own belief in yourself. All right, I want to jump into my favorite topic, a little bit of thought work. Our micro topic is self-doubt and using the Aspasian method. This is why we have to reframe self-doubt at the source. So we're going to rewrite our thoughts that are stealing our worth. Aspasia, like I said, taught Socrates what would later become known as the Socratic method. What exactly is the Socratic method? This is a system of questioning that breaks down faulty assumptions. And if you've been second guessing yourself, it's because your brain is running on faulty assumptions. Imagine you're debating a really smart 10-year-old who refuses to let anything slide. You say, I don't deserve more money. Instead of agreeing, the 10-year-old fires back. Who told you that? What does deserve even mean? Isn't that a subjective word? If a man with your same experience asked for more, would you feel the same way? If you don't deserve it, then who does? Suddenly, you realize you don't actually have solid evidence for that belief. You just inherited it. That is the Socratic method, and Aspasia was its master. It's a system of questioning your own assumptions until the weak ones totally collapse. Socrates gets the credit for it, but Aspasia taught him how to do it. And today I'm teaching you how to use it so that you can stop living by rules you never agreed to. This is the 4-step Aspasian method to dismantle self-doubt. So how did Aspasia use the Socratic method? We have written records of Aspasia using the method in real situations. Plato, in his dialogue, Menexenus, literally has Socrates say that Aspasia, who was brilliant, taught him rhetoric. Xenophon, in his Memorabilia, records Aspasia using it to mediate between a husband and wife, asking them pointed questions that led them to see their own contradictions. Let's take the second example. Aspasia sat with a man and his wife who were arguing about their marriage. The husband claimed he had the right to expect absolute devotion and obedience from his wife. Aspasia asked, would you be happy if your wife obeyed you out of obligation but despised you in private? The husband stammered because, of course, the answer was no. She then asked the wife, would you feel love towards a man who demanded your obedience instead of earning your respect? The woman hesitated because the answer was also no. By the end of the conversation, both of them realized they had been clinging to false assumptions. This is what the Aspasian method does. It forces you to sit down and own contradictions and see what's actually true. And here's the real gut punch. The system that taught you that asking for more money, for example, makes you greedy, that not settling makes you ungrateful, that demanding recognition makes you difficult, it was never based on truth. It was based on keeping women small, your brain on money, doubt, and societal conditioning. Here's why your self-doubt feels so real, even though it's built on lies. Let's get into social conditioning. So women are taught that power is dangerous. History has punished women who gain power. Aspasia, erased, practically. Women today, they're called unlikable, demanding, aggressive. The message is clear. If you take up space, expect backlash. And this is why your brain doubts you, not because you're actually undeserving, not because your work isn't valuable, not because you're asking for too much, but because you've absorbed 2,500 plus years of messaging that told you to doubt yourself, that told you that you weren't enough, that told you you didn't deserve anything. So here is a mindshift thought, an Aspasian edition. I wasn't born doubting myself. I was taught to, and I can unlearn it. This is the 4-step Aspasian method to dismantle self-doubt. If you've been taught that asking for more makes you greedy, that not settling makes you ungrateful, that demanding recognition makes you difficult, it's time to dismantle that script, because every belief that keeps you small was planted there for a reason. And questioning it is how you take your power in this world back. So here are some steps. Step 1, you're going to catch the thought, that mental loop that is running your entire life. Every hesitation you feel is connected to a specific thought. And if you don't catch it, you can't change it. I shouldn't ask for more money. I don't want to seem greedy. I should just be grateful for what I have and leave it at that. Aspasia's questioning. When doubt creeps in, you ask, who told me this? What would I think if I weren't taught this? If a man did the same thing, how would it be seen? So here's an example, a woman asking for a raise versus a man doing the same. They have different labels and they get different treatment. Because the first step to rewriting the script is realizing you didn't write it in the first place. Here's the second step. You're going to challenge that thought. Interrogate it, just like Aspasia would have done. Your brain will defend its beliefs until you force it to explain itself. Your brain is going to try to die in a ditch over this stuff. It's a baby. It's a toddler throwing a tantrum. Ask the question that unravels the belief. Would I think this if I were a man? Who benefits if I believe this? What if the opposite were true? We question the thought, challenge the thought. Every single thought that keeps you small was put there on purpose. We challenge the thought. Aspasia's method. Break it down like a Socratic dialogue. So here's the question. Why do I feel greedy for wanting more money? Let's give it an answer. Because money should be earned humbly. All right? So let's follow that up. According to whom? And why does that belief serve them more than it should serve me? What we discover, this virtue of self-sacrificial living, so many women get stuck in a box of, it's usually a tool of control. Questioning it is how you take back your space in the world. This is the lie we've been told. Women are socialized to think that money, ambition, and directness make them greedy, manipulative, or cold. But who taught us this? Religious conditioning, maybe, cultural narratives, that good girl script, workplace gaslighting, being labeled too much for setting boundaries. Here's the deepest problem. We take those beliefs as truth instead of questioning them, instead of challenging them, like Aspasia did. So here's some examples. Here's an old thought. I should be grateful for what I have. Here's a challenge. Who told me ambition and gratitude can't exist at the same time? Here's another old thought. I don't want to seem greedy. Okay, here's the challenge. What if prioritizing my financial well-being isn't selfish, it's responsible? The second you make your thought prove itself, it starts to crumble. Step 3, always my favorite, reframing the thought. Here's Aspasia's thought work. Replacing limiting beliefs with bridge thoughts, or what I call mind shift thoughts. These are tiny incremental thoughts that help you go from one thought to a better thought. And you do them in microscopic steps if needed. So here's an example. Wanting more money doesn't make me greedy. That might be too far for the brain, right? So we need something a little bit more incremental. Let's try. It's possible that asking for more is not selfish. Okay? Small steps rewire belief systems. So what we teach here, these mind shift thoughts aren't about forcing confidence. They're about neutralizing the belief. So it stops blocking action. That is the evidence for your confidence. Reframe the thought. Replace it with one that serves you. Old thought, I don't deserve more. New thought, it's possible I deserve to be paid for what my work is worth. Because the only thing more dangerous than a woman who doubts her worth is a woman who decides she's done apologizing for it. So here's your mind shift thought, the Aspasian edition. If you've been taught to feel guilty about money, it's not because you're greedy. It's because you were trained to expect less. Decide you're worthy, whether or not they validate you. Decide that asking for more is not a crime. Decide to own your worth, even when the system pushes back. Because here's the truth. No one is coming to hand you permission to be powerful. That's your job. All right, step 4, creating new beliefs that serve you. So these mind shift thoughts, they replace, for example, money guilt. Some people might judge me for asking for more, and that's okay. Not everybody will approve, and that's not my problem. So let's look at the workplace reality. Women are told, wait your turn, be grateful for what you have. It's not the right time to ask. Men are told, go get it, make your case, negotiate hard. How this shows up in our brains. I don't want to seem greedy. I should just be grateful. They'll think I'm difficult. So how the Aspasian method cuts straight through that bullshit. If I were a man, would I even be questioning this? Who benefits from me staying small? How do I challenge this belief one step incrementally at a time? So here's a mind shift thought for you. The most dangerous thing you can do in a system that thrives on hesitation is decide. Decide you're worthy, whether or not other people validate you. You're already worthy. You don't earn your self-worth. You're full of self-worth. Decide your worth isn't up for negotiation. Decide to take up space, even when the system pushes back against you. If you're ready to take this work deeper, I'm breaking down the full Aspasian method inside my masterclass, teaching you how to use this framework to navigate salary, negotiations, leadership, and career moves. You can grab that at charliehornesscoaching.com/store. And if you need extra support while doing this work, don't forget, therapy helps. Like I said, BetterHelp, that's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, is sponsoring a few of our episodes this spring, and they are offering you 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/art of. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/art of, ARTOF. All right, friend, here's the thing about power. If history has taught us anything, it's that the people who write the rules are the ones who get to keep the history. And for 2,500 plus years, the rules have been designed to keep women out of the conversation, out of the decisions, and out of the wealth. You see, Aspasia didn't ask for permission to be powerful. She didn't wait for approval. She mastered the art of thinking, of questioning, of rhetoric, of dismantling the logic that kept people small. And when they tried to erase her, she did what every powerful woman must learn to do. She outthought them. And that is your takeaway today. As we piece together the information we know about this interesting woman, we learn that the most dangerous thing you can do in a system that was built to keep you small is think for yourself. Question the script and refuse to play by the rules that were never designed for you to win, because the women who rewrite history are never the ones who obey it. All right, friend, thanks for joining me, and I will see you next week.